Whoa, Ray, don't get too close. That's a Van de Graaff generator.
It looks like something right out of an old Frankenstein movie.
Yeah, it does. So the Van de Graaff generator has been around since 1929. A belt generates an electrical charge inside that column, and then it can shoot a spark.
Ah, it looks so cool.
It looks wicked cool, no question.
So did we come to this small town of Orford, New Hampshire, looking for old lab equipment?
No, we came to Orford searching for a woman who was once written up in the American Journal of Science because she couldn't stop shooting electricity from her body. Hey, I'm Jeff Belanger, and welcome to episode 260 of the New England Legends podcast.
And I'm Ray Auger. Thanks for joining us in our mission to chronicle every legend in New England one story at a time. We can't do what we do without you. Our community of legend seekers sharing strange tales of the bizarre, the haunted, and the just plain odd. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast because it's free. And tell a friend or two about us on your social media. It goes a long way in helping us grow.
And another way you can support us is by supporting our sponsor, Nuati Herbals.
Nuati Herbals is more than just a longtime sponsor. Rod and Kimberly, they're our friends, and their products have become a regular part of our lives.
We've told you a lot about some of the great teas Nuati Herbals offers, but they have many other products that really make a difference. And clearly, they've been hard at work this summer because they've just announced a new product. Busy Paws Hand Cream is now available.
Jeff, ever since I got COVID, I'm washing my hands twice as much as before, everywhere I go.
That's good. We're supposed to be doing that this whole time.
I know. But the more I wash my hands, the more they're getting dried out. So I love that Busy Paws Hand Cream comes in a low-profile 2.7-ounce container that I can keep in my car, my backpack, or my wife's purse.
Sure.
It's made with all-natural ingredients like everything Nuati Herbals makes. And this cream is scent-free, so I won't smell like perfume.
Nice. Nuati Herbals also offers Beet Feet Cream for your feet and Barefoot Soak, which contains sea salt, Epsom salts, and herbs that moisturize and condition your tired feet.
Who needs a day at the spa when you've got Nuati Herbals?
Let Nuati Herbals help support your healthy lifestyle. Check out the Nuati Herbals website to see all of their great products, and you get 20% off your order when you use the promo code LEGENDS20 at checkout. Visit NuatiHerbals.com. That's Nuwati Herbals with an S.com.
All right, Jeff, it sounds like we're looking for a woman in Orford who has superpowers?
Well, kind of. Though this would be a power we all possess.
Shooting electric sparks? I don't think so.
Come on. All right, take your shoes off with me.
Okay.
I'm glad you're wearing socks today for a number of reasons. Okay, if we shuffle our feet on the carpet, and then I shuffle over your way and touch your cheek.
Ow! Okay, all right, my turn.
All right. Ow!
Clearly, I stand corrected. Man, I don't think I've pulled this trick since I was a kid.
It's fun with static electricity. And while this little experiment is not new, it's been around since long before the light bulb, long before we harnessed electricity. There was once a woman here in Orford, New Hampshire, who, they say, didn't need wool socks or carpet or anything like that in order to shoot sparks out of her body. And her story was captured by a local doctor and published in the American Journal of Science, Volume 33. The local doctor never revealed her name, but gave us great details otherwise. So let's head back to 1837 and meet this electrified lady.
It's late January of 1837 here in Orford, and there's a buzz around town about a local woman who possesses a strange and electrifying ability.
Word soon reaches Dr. Willard Hosford, who lives in town and tends to the medical needs of just about everyone around here. Dr. Hosford is curious enough to take a look for himself.
Wait. Before we meet Dr. Hosford, we should mention what we saw outside tonight.
Oh, what do we see?
Well, there's a brilliant aurora in the sky tonight.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Usually the aurora borealis is green and blue in color, but tonight it's red, almost crimson.
Now, that is unusual, but not impossible. So, do you think there's a connection?
I'm not saying there's a connection to what's happening with this local woman, but I'm not saying there isn't a connection either.
Dr. Hosford is here. Good. Doctor, I know you need to keep her name anonymous, but what can you tell us about this mysterious woman?
This lady is the wife of a very respected gentleman at this place. She is aged about 30, of a delicate constitution, nervous temperament, sedentary habits, usually engaged with her books or needlework, and generally enjoying a fine flow of spirits. During the autumn and part of the winter preceding this electrical development, she suffered much from unseated neuralgia in the various parts of her system.
Okay, so otherwise a seemingly normal 30-year-old woman. How did this start?
At the time when the aurora occurred, she became suddenly and unconsciously charged with electricity, and she gave the first exhibition of this power in passing her hand over the face of her brother, when, to the astonishment of both, vivid electrical sparks passed to it from the end of each finger. This fact was immediately mentioned, but the company were so skeptical that each, in succession, required, for conviction, both to see and feel the spark. On entering the room afterward, the combined testimony of the company was sufficient to convince me.
So you experienced this for yourself?
Yes. A spark 3/4 of an inch long passed from the lady's knuckle to my nose, causing an involuntary recoil.
Okay, as we've already established, any of us can slide our socks across a carpet, generate static electricity, and zap another person.
That's true, but as soon as you zap that person or touch something metal, the static charge is gone. You'd need to shuffle your feet again to generate a second charge. What makes this woman different is that ever since the aurora, she seems to have a charge in her body all the time.
Days go by. Dr. Hosford continues his observations of this woman. He's asking all the same skeptical questions we are. He continues his observations.
When her finger was brought within 1/16 of an inch of a metallic body, a spark that was heard, seen, and felt passed every second. When she was seated with her feet on the iron stove hearth, engaged with her books, with no motion but that of breathing and turning the leaves, then 3 or more sparks per minute would pass to the stove, notwithstanding the insulation of her shoes and silk hosiery. When most favorably circumstanced, 4 sparks per minute, of 1.5 inches, would pass from the end of her finger to a brass ball on the stove. These were quite brilliant, distinctly seen, and heard in any part of a large room, and sharply felt when they passed to another person.
Weeks pass, and this phenomena is still happening to this woman, who is growing more despondent about getting shocked multiple times per minute. And no one can get close to her, or they too get zapped.
It's also worth pointing out that it's winter. Conditions inside are more dry than in other months. There's not much humidity. The wood stoves and fireplaces suck any moisture out of the room. Less humidity must mean more static charge in the air, right?
That makes sense. Have you found a correlation, Doctor?
The most prominent circumstances which appear to add to her electrical power were an atmosphere of about 80 degrees Fahrenheit, moderate exercise, tranquility of mind, and social enjoyment, while the reverse diminished it precisely in the same ratio. Of these, a high temperature evidently had the greatest effect, while the excitement diminished as the mercury sunk and disappeared before it reached zero. We had no evidence that the barometrical conditions of the atmosphere exerted any influence, and the result was precisely the same, whether it were humid or arid.
Okay, this is really weird. Humid or dry, and she's still producing these static discharges. As February turns to March, this poor woman is sinking into a depression. She's afraid to touch anything metal, which makes cooking, sewing, or even opening doors an act of fear. And she can't get close to any person, or they'll be shocked too.
By now, many people in the small town of Orford have witnessed this shocking display. But everyone is perplexed on what the cause could be or how to help the poor woman.
Just when everyone had given up hope, March turns to April. On the 1st of the month, this woman touches her stove and is shocked.
She's been shocked hundreds of times over the past 2+ months.
No. She's shocked because she wasn't shocked.
Oh, yeah. She didn't get zapped today.
As the day goes on, this woman finds she can touch other metal objects as well, even people. The nightmare, it seems, is over.
From the 25th of January to the 1st of April, there was no time the lady was incapable of yielding electrical sparks.
By April 1st, it's over. And that brings us back to today.
Such a strange story.
It really is.
Everything we know about this case was pulled from the January 1838 American Journal of Science and Arts. The article in the journal explains how Hosford attempted to administer various medicines, but they had no effect at all.
Hosford also addressed the aurora that was seen the night everything started for this poor woman. He believes it was just a coincidence, that the aurora had nothing to do with the sparks coming out of this Orford, New Hampshire woman.
So we looked this up, and it turns out that some of us are more predisposed to carrying a static charge than others. Now, generally, the more humid the air, the less likely you'll build up a charge, which is why in dry winter months, we tend to get more of these sparks. And if you're one of those predisposed people, it's also recommended that you add moisturizer to your skin to help prevent the static buildup.
But that doesn't explain what happened to this woman from Orford.
No, it doesn't. This is a strange case, and stranger still that it suddenly stopped after just a few months.
But it did stop in April after the winter had passed, and the moist spring air moved back in.
Now, I'm sure that had something to do with it. But can you imagine how awful it must have been to live like that for months?
I can't. What would be really funny at first would get old really quickly.
And not just get old, I mean, it would get downright depressing. Yeah. It would chip away at your sanity. Afraid to touch anyone or just about anything. That would be hell. And this woman suffered through that for more than 2 months, leaving us with a medical curiosity that we're still talking about today.
These kinds of weird stories have a way of hanging around, don't they?
They do.
And that brings us to After the Legend, which is sponsored by our Patreon patrons.
Our Patreon patrons have been with us almost from the very beginning. We're not on some giant podcast network. We're not financially backed by anyone. We work directly for you and have since the beginning. As you can imagine, this project is expensive. There's production and marketing costs, hosting costs, travel, web, and all kinds of other expenses that go into bringing you a new story each and every week, as well as maintaining the archives.
If you can help us out, we're asking for just $3 per month. It's like buying me and Jeff a cheap beer each month that we have to split.
Right.
Plus, our Patreons get early access to new episodes, plus bonus episodes and content that no one else gets to hear. Just head on over to patreon.com/New England Legends to sign up.
So, Electric Ladyland, I couldn't resist.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking of that through the whole thing.
Jimi Hendrix's third and final studio album, of course, was where that came from. We were supposed to have a new episode last week.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I was racking my brain. What did we do last week?
I got COVID.
Yeah.
And a couple weeks ago, and it's terrible, but obviously on the mend. And then you got COVID.
Yeah. Unrelated. I don't think we spent any time together.
I don't
the
really.
week before. But you were fine by then.
Yeah. So I don't think, because by the time we had got together, I was pretty much past it. But then
it had just hit me last Tuesday, tape day. So that was tough. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah. No, I get it. This thing is a doozy.
It is.
I'm glad you're feeling better now.
And you too. It didn't hit me as hard as it hit Molly, because Molly got it as well.
Right.
She had like a flare up in her throat, her ears. I mean, she was almost close to going to the hospital. So it was crazy.
But she was not shocking anybody.
She was not shocking anybody at all. We were worried about that. I tried to keep my distance, but
I know you got COVID and it's terrible, but
I just don't want to get shot.
Look at this story, Molly. Look
what things could be worse.
Things could be so much worse. You could not touch anything for like 2.5 months. Imagine that.
That's a crazy story, and I think I've heard stories like this before in the past. I think probably, I'm sure, originating from this story here. But yeah, people who are electrified, that and it happens all the time.
Sure, of course.
And sometimes it happens more than you think, and you wonder, did I get bit by a radioactive spider or something?
Right.
Am I now a superhero?
Yeah.
But it's just because you're shuffling around on the carpet.
Especially at winter, when it's dried out, and you got on wool socks, and you zap your kids or you zap your friends. And
Isn't it fun doing it to the kids for the first time?
And they think you have like some superpowers. And then they learn it, and you regret everything. You're just like, oh, you're going to be doing this all day, aren't you?
Yeah.
It is a strange thing, but some people are hypersensitive to electromagnetic energy. So there's folks that if they walk under like high tension wires, they'll get headaches or whatever. They're sensitive to it. Others of us are not. And some people are more predisposed to carry a static charge, which is strange. I mean, I don't know if it has to do with the density of your skin or the dryness of your skin. Maybe you just have generally more dry skin than someone else. But, what a strange thing. That sounds super fun at like a party. Like that night must have been a blast. Like, hey, come here, your turn. Wow, ow, stop it, right? And then next day
during breakfast, you're shocking everybody.
It's over by then as you pick up your fork to eat and you go, ow, okay, no, it hurts me too. You forget this.
What a lonely existence.
Terrible.
Nobody wants to go near you.
And as days turn to weeks, you can only imagine. This is my new life. I'm going to be like this. I'm going to be a freak show. I'm not going to be able to touch anybody or anything, and that would just be awful.
And then it just goes away.
Yeah,
no explanation at all. Just boom, gone.
And I'm sure you're petrified that it's going to come back.
Was it April 1st? Is that
April
when it
1st.
April 1st. April Fool's Day. Yeah, that was a long running joke. Whoever played that on her, whatever entity, said, we're going to go up until April Fool's.
What a payoff.
Yeah.
April Fool's.
Yeah, right.
And meanwhile, she's pretty much emotionally scarred for life. So what we don't know, because we don't know who this woman was. He kept her name out of the journal. We don't know if it came back the following winter. I mean, I'm certain she had a static charge again at some point. We all do.
Yeah.
But can you imagine for her, January comes around and pop. Oh, no, right? Is this the start of it again?
Right.
Do I have to go through all winter like this again?
Because it's going to happen.
Yeah, right.
But will it stick again like it did last time?
Yeah. When I do research into the birth of the spiritualist movement, which started in 1848 and then really blew up around the time of the Civil War, this is also the time where electricity is just starting to get harnessed. I mean, it'll be later in the 1800s. And as electricity is getting harnessed, psychic mediums are saying, yes, this magical force explains the powers we have. And one mesmerist even put, the electric eel. He said, if the electric eel has the ability to discharge electricity from its body, then human beings, we must have some version of that somewhere in us, right? That was assuming we're all animals in some way. And so why wouldn't we have it? And so as electricity, we take it for granted today. We flip the light switch, it goes on. But back then, I mean, it was a miracle what was happening. And as the 1800s turned to the 1900s and people are starting to, use electricity, this is incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely world-changing, phenomena. And people were looking at that were psychics and mediums and saying, yes, now you get it. Now everything's changed. We take it for granted. But there was a time when this was absolute magic being harnessed. But that's how it goes.
And now we deal with sparks every day.
We do.
Love, for one.
Oh,
but our car, a spark starts our car.
That's right. Yeah.
Do they still do that, or it's mostly?
Well, we still have spark plugs.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, unless you have, I guess, one of those fancy electric cars.
Yeah, which I don't.
Then you don't have the combustion happening. If you have a story that you think we should check out, please don't assume we've heard it. Reach out to us through our website, through our super secret Facebook group, or on our social media. Most of our story leads come from you.
We'd like to thank Jim Harold from Jim Harold's Campfire Podcast for lending his voice acting talents this week. We'd like to thank our sponsor, New Audi Herbals. We'd also like to thank our Patreon patrons, and our theme music is by John Judd.
Until next time, remember,
the bizarre is closer than you think.